If you don't have that many followers on social media, that's totally fine. You can still learn how to make a bag from social media by selling any kind of coaching, consulting, agency services, info products, in-person services, whatever. It doesn't matter if you follow the right 3-step formula. The reason I'm making this video is because I was really inspired by one of our particular clients who scaled her audience with our help to 10,000 followers, which is not like a crazy number of followers, right? But don't get me wrong, she was still making 80K per month from her 10,000 followers. And so in this video, I want to show you how to make just 20K per month with very few followers, right? And the way we structure things is super important in order to do that, okay? Now, the first thing we need to do is take the perspective of being rich over famous, okay? People get hung up in the vanity metrics. They're like, oh, I want millions of views and millions of followers. But let's be real, if you actually Google up how big your niche is, there's probably not even millions of people in it, right? And so in order to have millions of followers, that by definition means you're reaching outside of your niche to people who will never even buy from you in the first place. And you're just diluting your audience with lots of low quality people that just aren't going to be able to pay high ticket prices, okay? And so we basically need to choose over being rich rather than famous, okay? I don't know about you, I don't really want to be famous, but I definitely want to be rich, okay? So we don't want millions of followers, right? If we can just get anywhere between 5K to 20K followers, this is at minimum a 100K per year business, minimum. But I guarantee at 5 to 20K targeted and loyal followers, you could be making anywhere from 200K to 500K per year, provided you structure everything correctly. Something you need to understand is that the algorithm is extremely sophisticated these days, okay? People think that, oh, you need to target using hashtags or captions or some other BS that just doesn't work. How the algorithm really works is by what you say. By what you say is how they target the video, okay? So if you are talking about a specific problem of, a certain kind of back pain and you're like a chiropractor or something, or you're talking about, a specific business problem that coaches and consultants face, well, that's the kind of person that they're going to show the video to, okay? So with this client in particular that I just told you about, they were in a very sciencey niche, and I won't go too much into it because it's very sciencey, but all of their content was 100% focused on sciencey type people. They were actually working with a specific kind of doctors, okay? And their offer was to educate these doctors on basically a new kind of treatment. If you look at how many doctors are on the US, maybe there's only 200K or less, right? So out of all the doctors, the ones that they wanted to work with, there was maybe 10 or 20,000 of them in the US. And of the ones that were even aware of their particular solution, there might only be a couple or a few thousand of those people. So this client was getting anywhere between 1K to about 5K views per video on average. And they topped out at 15 to 20K views per video. But when we put this in perspective of looking at their total addressable market, their TAM, this is quite a large percentage. This could be anywhere from 5 to 20% or more of the people that they want to work with. And so the algorithm showed that content directly to their TAM of people that were interested in their stuff. And so every single follower they got of those 10,000 was hyper targeted to care and listen about the stuff that the client was talking about, right? Because it was up their alley. It was exactly the kind of content that they watch, and it's exactly the kind of thing that they respond to, okay? So you need to understand that you need to be posting this niche-based content if you want to be making a lot of money with a smaller audience. That's the first thing we have to understand. Now, the second thing that we need to understand is you have to dial in your content. If you have zero content, you will reach zero people, okay? Which is kind of self-explanatory, but you would be shocked the amount of people I speak to and they're like, I'm not getting any lead flow. I'm like, all right, how much content you posted? Like once a week. Bruh, you need to be posting minimum once per day. Unless you've been posting once per day for like 3 to 6 months, then tell me about no results. Because then you've actually done the main thing that's going to get you the result, which is posting at least once per day. And if you're a savage and you really want to get rich, you should post 2 to 3 times per day. Even more, I seen a video the other day of a guy who was making, I don't even know how much he was making, but it was maybe a few million a year. He's like, I post 5 times a day. 5 times a day. And that's why he's blown up. Okay. So if you're only doing once a week, you're going to get cooked, man. You're just never going to reach the people that you want to reach. You're never going to actually build a business. So you absolutely must, first of all, have daily posting. Now, what should you post? Post anything. Most people never post their first video because they get hung up on perfectionism. They're like, oh, I need to have the perfect camera and lighting and setting and all this crap. It needs to be the perfect video, because I guarantee you post that first video, it's going to flop anyway, no matter how much effort you put into it, because the algorithm works a lot like rolling a ball up a hill, like a heavy ball up to the top of a hill. And eventually when you get to the top of the hill, it goes down the other side, and it's much easier. You don't even have to push it anymore, okay? So you're pushing the ball up the hill for weeks and weeks, or maybe even months, until you get to the top. And once you start to crack the algorithm, it gives you that downhill momentum, and you essentially get more views, but significantly easier. But it won't give it to you unless you're posting once a day. Imagine you do own a company. Imagine your employees showed up to work once per week, and they're like, yeah, I want my full-time salary for as if I worked for 7 days a week. You'd be like, piss off. You wouldn't give them the full-time salary, so why would the algorithm give you growth if you only show up to work once a week? So you have to be posting once a day. The second thing you need to understand are the 3 types of content that you have to be posting: top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Now, this is a concept. These are 3 words that is thrown around in marketing a lot, right? But in the sense of content, top of funnel gets you views, more views than normal. Middle of funnel nurtures, builds trust, but gets less views. And middle of funnel converts. These are your CTAs. So top of funnel content gets views. Now, again, we're operating off a smaller audience. So when I say gets more views, it'll get more views than your average. Now, with that client before, I told you their biggest videos topped out at 15 to 20K views, is because those were top of funnel styles. And what top of funnel styles are? More widely applicable topics. Okay, so if you look at your market in general, there's going to be some topics that could apply, or if you look at your niche in general, there's some of those topics that could apply to the market level. The market level is significantly bigger than the niche level, because within every market, there's thousands of little niches, okay? So if you're creating niche-based content and you want to get more views, then you need to elevate your idea, your awareness level of each idea to the market level, and that then allows the algorithm to open that video up to more people, because more people are watching content at the market level rather than content at your niche level, okay? The second style is middle funnel content. This is your niche-based content, okay? This is content that you are happy for it to get less views, but it doesn't matter, because you're explaining concepts, you're talking about more complex things that your specific niche loves to hear, and this is how you show your authority, you show your expertise. So they followed you based on the top of funnel content, but now they're saying based on your middle of funnel content that you're smart, you know what you're talking about, you have solutions to problems, right? You have good insights. That's your niche-based content. It's not designed to get views, it's designed to nurture and educate and prove that you're smart, essentially. Bottom of funnel content is purely sales based. We're taking all of the traffic that came from, let me just draw like a little funnel thing here. We're taking all the traffic that came from here, and then here, got nurtured here, and we're putting it here in order to get the sale. Okay, this is our bottom of funnel. BOF, middle funnel, top of funnel. Content. Our viewers come in through top of funnel, a lot of them. Some of them will watch your middle of funnel content, and a few of them will take action on your bottom of funnel content, which is a CTA. Now, what is a bottom of funnel? By the way, these are all reels. Maybe I should have made that clear. These are all short form content. Middle funnel content can also be YouTube, because it's an education, trust-based asset. We'll get into that in a second. And so with your bottom of funnel content, this is your stories, this is your lives, this is your photo posts, and it can also be a video post as well that is a direct CTA as well, okay? So this is everything where you can put a CTA. You can also put CTAs in captions, but those come along with the other posts, right? Through these mediums, and of course your email list as well, this is where you're going to pitch and you're going to drive people into your purchase, right? Now, you should post these 2 to 3 times per week, obviously depending on your audience size. The bigger your audience, the more CTAs you can put out there, but in general, 2 to 3 times per week, okay? Now, in terms of how much of each of these content pieces you should post, I like to follow the 40-40-20 split. So 40% top of funnel, 40% middle of funnel, and 20% bottom of funnel. Okay, so that usually comes out to 2 to 3 of these per week, 2 to 3 of these per week, and 1 to 3 of these per week. And it obviously depends how many you're posting per day. I advise, if you're especially starting from 0, 2 to 3 times per day. Going on to the next section, we need to find ways to shorten our deal cycle, especially if we're selling a high ticket item with a small audience, because with small audience comes less trust. So we need to build trust at an accelerated rate. Okay, so we need to use trust to shorten our deal cycle. And the way we do that is with long form content. Now, the type of long form I like is YouTube. This will be 10 to 30 minute or longer videos that prove your expertise. We're not trying to go viral like Mr. Beast. We're trying to explain concepts and strategies that people can go and take. And then if they want our help to actually implement the thing, they can do so. By the way, if you want to work with me to implement all this stuff, just check the link in bio, click it. I promise you won't regret it. Anyway, let's get back into it. YouTube, but you can also do podcasts. The client that I had that was making 80K per month, like I mentioned, they were doing visual video podcasts. I can't remember where they were hosted, but it was a podcast format. Every single person that closed on the high ticket offer watched the podcast, because people go into research mode, right? They'll check your link in bio, they'll go through your long form content, they'll listen to you to make sure you know what you're talking about before they bother investing the cash for your help. Okay, they need to hear that you're an expert. Okay, and that's why our long form content exists. And so you simply just have this in your link in bio. Okay, have a CTA in your bio that says, you know, watch this training or whatever the asset is, watch this to learn XYZ, and have your YouTube link in the bio, right? You might have it alongside like a work with me link, but you need to have a very clear way to reach that YouTube video. You should also have highlights, which is underneath the bio that says free training or YouTube. People can click that. You also want to make sure that you promote it on your IG story. Now, this really can only happen once or 2 times, because if you post a story organically more than 2 or 3 times for the same thing, people are like, what the heck? But the way we can get around that and basically have an evergreen trust building asset is to run retargeting ads to our audience, retargeting ads to the audience. Okay. And this is going to take the form of retargeting to the story, retargeting to a video post. And both of those mediums, using the power of many chat automations, which are great, we will send them directly to the YouTube asset that builds trust. Okay. And based off the back of this, then obviously in your description, you have links, you have places to book calls. And so people that come in off your IG, they get sent over to YouTube to build trust. You CTA in the video that you can work with them. And even if they don't take action on that initial CTA, they at least know that you have a way to work with you on something, right? So when they go back to Instagram and they're scrolling on the next days, they realize, yes, he gave me value. I see his CTA, I see his promotion. Let me take the next step and speak to this guy and see what it's all about. And so I know we covered a lot in this video, but you need to remember that it is possible to make money, a lot of money, with a small audience of 10,000 people. You can build a 20K, 30K, 50K per month business with only a few thousand followers. You need to remember that you need to choose being rich over famous. You have to produce content every single day, at least once a day, up to 3 times per day or more if you're a savage and you really want to make it, which I advise that you should. Then you have to create long form assets that build trust and shorten the sales cycle to get people essentially to take action a lot sooner than they otherwise would. Now, if you enjoyed that video, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. If you want to work with me, DM me the word scale on IG. You'll trigger my ManyChat automation, and then I'll also come manually into the inbox and I can answer any questions you have, or click the link in the description. You'll see some cool stuff down there, get a little bit more info on what that looks like. But I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.